What is the definition of success? So what are you striving to achieve and why? Let's just have a bit of a laugh with it and see where it goes. Be open-minded. So Tom Wilkinson, Beta Commercial Finance, and Tom will be far better at just explaining a bit about his business. But met Tom, it'd be about 4 years ago at a local networking group. I guess I built a relationship with Tom over those 4 years. I think initially just getting to know each other, me understanding a little bit in terms of actually what commercial finance brokers actually do and how they can really help businesses. And I guess one of the things I was desperate to really look for when I was going to networking group was actually who in that industry is out there who is really, really skilled and you can trust. Because I knew that I wasn't going to be necessarily knocking on the door, but my clients that I was aspiring to actually attract would, and I knew not enough about it. And so got to know Tom. And I suppose we're now at a stage really where there's a two-way process. So there's certain support which I offer Tom, but Tom is I would say most importantly is my go-to person for people and businesses that I work with who need support and advice. And by that, it's not just me coming to the conclusion they need money, but they just need to speak to somebody who will give them good, really good, honest, independent advice. What are the typical pitfalls that you could fall into in pursuit of additional money to grow your business?
One big pitfall is what is important to that lender to get that deal done. So one thing we do is we gather lots of information. We really spend the time researching our clients, gathering information from them, and it's that presentation of information to that lender. Something that the customer might not think is an issue could be an issue to that particular lender. And it might be something that just needs a little bit more elaboration or explanation to not be an issue. And what you find is that situations where someone might approach the lender and they think they've got the right lender, but the presentation of that information isn't how it should be, so they end up getting the wrong decision. It might not be structured in the right way. So there might be things that they don't take account. So again, they're not almost giving the information that the lender needs to give them a positive decision. Whereas we will extract that information from them to make sure that they do have the sufficient information.
So you take responsibility, I guess, for how that information is then presented through to the lender. So you're acting on your client's behalf.
And sometimes explanations, a lot of customers don't know what the right or the wrong answer is. And it's not to say that anything should be hidden, but if you explain a situation, sometimes something that could appear as an issue won't be going forward. And it's that explanation that really makes a difference. The whole process in itself, some funding can be more complex than others, and no journey is straightforward. It's not a straight line. So even once you get that funding agreed, there's a lot of milestones, a lot of bumps in the road, so to speak, to get to the position of where the funds are being released. And it's like anything. If you don't know how that process works, it's very hard to manage yourself. And that's what we really do. A lot of the benefit that we give is not just in terms of here's the finance structure that fits the needs that you've told us about, but we're now going to facilitate that for you. We're going to actually manage the process of taking us through from this point to completion. And very often there's timescales to be met there. And when you've got lending, often there's a lot of different stakeholders. Say, for example, with commercial property, you've got the lender, you could have the client solicitors, the seller solicitors, there's valuers involved, there could be other professionals involved. It's bringing all these different elements together to make sure they're doing the right things at the right time to get the transaction done. And that is one of the biggest pitfalls that we see, from particularly with customers, is knowing how that lender and that process works, not having to try and fathom it out themselves to get it done. It's just rely on us, our experience and our knowledge to complete it.
Just share with us the benefits of actually engaging with somebody like you, and that access to be able to actually to look whole of market. Just perhaps expand on that, because I think that is it's just such a real positive, I suppose, selling point really in terms of what you're doing.
Well, what it is, every business is different. They're all unique, they're all in different sectors, they're all at different stages of the journey, and there's so much choice out there now for all the different products that are there to help them with whatever that funding solution is. So someone that's independent doesn't have a loyalty to a single lender, and they're independent in the fact that they can approach whatever lender probably is the most appropriate for who they are. Now, take a commercial mortgage, for example. You wouldn't necessarily go to every single commercial mortgage provider on the market if someone came to you looking for a commercial mortgage. but you use your knowledge of all the different lenders to perhaps reduce that down to 2 or 3 that you know are the most appropriate for your knowledge and experience to help that particular client. You will then know the processes of all these different lenders, what kind of information they need, how does that actual process fit in with the needs of the customer, so that you can advise the customer on how all these different solutions match best to what their needs are.
Yeah.
And that independence then enables you to be completely fair in terms of who you're going to, because you're going on the basis of those needs of your customer, not any loyalty to one particular lender.
Yeah. And is that the fundamental reason why you would suggest that if you have a business and you have a need to raise money, that actually they just need to think other than going straight to their bank manager and saying, can you help us?
Yeah.
Because I suspect a lot of people do that because that they feel safer doing that.
Yeah, and it's the bank will react in one of 2 ways. They can either help or they can't. If they can't help, then that's a natural situation where we can, because there will be other lenders out there that most likely can help. But if the bank would turn around and say, yes, we can help, it might not always be the best option for the customer.
Yeah.
That could be in terms of the interest rate they're offering, or it could be something such as the term. If they can say, yes, we can offer this mortgage at, say, 3.5% and over a 15-year term, that actual business might be able to get that mortgage at 3% over a 20-year term if they need the extra time to pay back that facility. So it's just having the choice that matches up better with whatever the particular needs are of that business.
How do people find you? And I suppose I'm coming from a perspective of thinking about those people out there that need to speak to you, but they wouldn't know how necessarily to actually. How do I get in touch with, I don't know, Tom at Beta Commercial? How do you get your clients? What are you doing to get, I suppose, really to get your message out there that actually this is what you do?
Well, we're lucky enough to have an existing customer base now. You know, their experience they share with other people in similar situations, and they make introductions on that basis. So people talk about, we've recently bought a property, this is how we did it, this is what we managed to put in place, and make recommendations that way. We also build relationships with people or businesses, other professionals if you like, that will have those conversations about funding. So accountants, they'll look at financial strategy with their clients, what are you looking to do over the next 12 months, and there could be a funding requirement as part of that objective. And so by building those relationships there, then enables them to make that introduction to us so that we can actually help that particular customer. I always think I come across a bit too serious, that's the only thing, but I'm trying to, I don't know, with finance, you want to make sure that you are serious, it's not a jokey subject, because you don't just want, it's a very emotional driven service, because if you get that wrong, it impacts the lives of the people that run that business.
Yeah.
And so I'm very aware of that fact, that those people that run that business, they've got families, they've got friends, and these people rely on them. So if you're getting someone in debt, it has to be for the right reasons.
You're spot on.
And so I'm very mindful of that.
You know what, you might be a very funny person, but at this particular moment, you've got to talk about finance because it's serious stuff to them. It's the stuff that keeps them up awake at night, and therefore, it's dead important to get that message across, mate. I mean, it's one of the first questions I always ask when someone comes to me for finance is why? What do you need the funds for? Because they might think they've got a need, but you've really got to establish that need. And I'll give you a good example of this. I had a plumber come to me and he said, I think we need a business loan, Tom. I was like, okay, why do you need a business loan? Because my invoices aren't getting paid quick enough. I said, okay, so tell me about how you do your invoices then. And he said, well, we invoice typically 1 week after we do a job with hopefully a 1 week's payment term. So okay, so you're being paid 2 weeks after then. How quick are you getting paid? It's taking a couple of months in some instances. Okay, so do you do your invoices? No, it's my mum that does my invoices. How often does she do them? Well, she's not been doing them weekly at the moment. Okay, so we're quickly establishing that the need isn't for finance, the need is to actually tighten up your invoices. And the way in which you're actually sending those out. And actually, if you are then doing what your invoice says you should be doing, that funding will come in quicker so that you don't actually need to take the finance facility out. And what I asked him to do was to go off and actually see if he can improve the way in which he does his invoices before he comes to me and asks for a business loan, and he did. And and you just know where that person's going to come later down the line, when they succeed and require more advice, if they have ambitions to grow, you know where they're coming, and I think that's where people do fall short. It's about actually the here and now and trying to actually monetize a conversation, but that's not, you know, and I think that's an absolute no-no, isn't it, in what you do?
It is.
Let's just have a bit of a laugh with it and see where it goes. Be open-minded.